Let's imagine a situation. You understand almost anything in English pretty easily. Your passive vocabulary is extensive. But when you open your mouth and speak, the only thought in your mind is like, oh shit. That was me, not a long while ago. And today I'm sharing my journey to speaking fluency, or at least to the state where I'm pretty comfortable at expressing myself in English. Let's dive in. It's my third video about my English journey, and you will find other videos about reading, listening, and writing in the description down below. Let's talk about the most exciting topic ever, speaking, right now. You would think that living in a country where few people speak your native tongue will provide a huge boost to your speaking skills, but nope, it doesn't work like that. I moved to Cyprus in 2013, and even though this island is a tourist place, many people here speak English. The opportunities for me to interact with other human beings here in English were very few and far between. They were mostly hello, followed by thank you, and then bye in shops and cafes. And that was not enough. I'm naturally a very shy and introverted person, so speaking in English can be especially hard for me. I'm much more confident and outspoken now, but back then I couldn't even look strangers in the eye. And don't even mention calling somebody on the phone. My worst nightmare. In 2015, I found a teacher to improve my speaking skills. She was Austrian, and I had to walk to her a few kilometers every time each week. The lessons lasted for 2 months, so it wasn't a lot, but it was a start. Then I found a place where I could go to exercise, like to physically exercise. And there I started practicing my small talk skills with a group of women. So after we finished our exercise activities, we talked for a little bit, like 5 minutes, 2-3 times a week for a few years. It helped a lot. I'm really grateful to those women because they helped me become more confident in myself and my speaking abilities. I remember that once I forgot my umbrella in the studio, and then I returned to the studio and I said to my trainer, I've forgotten my umbrella. And then, oh, I've used present perfect in real life for the first time ever. And she was very sweet and congratulated me. In 2017, after watching Accent's Way English with Hadar, a wonderful channel about American accent, I joined her course called Accent Makeover. And it changed my pronunciation and my speaking confidence for the better. I found a group of like-minded people who wanted to improve their pronunciation and their English and their speaking fluency. And also, I found many things about American pronunciation that helped me improve the way I sounded. I found a lot of mistakes with my breathing, with the way I stress things, with the melody. It was one step further to speaking fluency for me. After finishing the course, I started looking for a teacher to improve my speaking skills for IELTS, an international English exam. Then I found a great Russian teacher, and we had lessons 3 times a week for 14 months. Yeah, that was a lot. But I wasn't the only one person who took those lessons, because I had 1 or 2 people with me all the time, and we took turns speaking. So I wasn't the center of the attention of the teacher all the time. It was a much cheaper option, and I didn't feel very tired afterwards because I wasn't the only one who was speaking. Also, we had wonderful discussions, sometimes very heated. The only thing I didn't like about the lessons is that we were taught a more formal approach to speaking. Like we were taught that we should substitute short words for their longer counterparts. Let's say luck, a big no-no, but you would use serendipity instead of luck. I wasn't entirely on board with this approach. I preferred a more simplified approach from another IELTS course I enrolled in, and their approach was speak to an IELTS teacher, to an IELTS examiner as you would do to a friend, as you would speak to a friend. And that advice was I more comfortable with, but otherwise the lessons were fantastic. In March of 2018, I got my 7.5 out of 9 in speaking in IELTS. Then I didn't speak for a while, not regularly at least. But at the end of 2019, I found my first regular speaking partner. It was on a platform called Free4Talk, and we decided to meet once a week and talk for an hour and a half or 2 hours about one TV show. We chose a TV show, an American sitcom called Parks and Recreation. Highly recommend. It's wonderful. And we discussed the vocabulary from the show, the plot, the characters, and also our lives. We're still talking every week, and I've seen her grow as an English learner and speaker so much, and I experienced growth myself. However, it's much easier to see growth in other people. And I have a whole series of videos on how to find a speaking partner and work with speaking partners. So if you're interested, you can check them out. Now I usually have 2 speaking partners who I talk to once a week each for around an hour and a half. And it's a wonderful experience. 2020 wasn't a great year by any means, but it was the best year for my English so far. I felt I needed activity and communication with other people, online of course, so that I could compensate for the necessity of staying indoors all the time and to distract myself from all those thoughts and the scary world outside. I joined the new round of Accent Makeover, the American pronunciation course I was talking about earlier. And I started working on my pronunciation and intonation. The most fun activities for me were working on and recording a scene, like an acting scene from a movie or a TV show, and then a dialogue with another person. In May, I volunteered hosting conversation meetings in the group, and I would choose a topic, maybe like reading in English or the climate change, and I would work on vocabulary. Then I would choose maybe an article or a song or a scene from a TV show or a movie, and we would work on vocabulary from those things and discuss different issues in big groups or small groups. And it was very beneficial for learners because they could learn to express themselves in English in a friendly environment and also learn some new vocabulary along the way. And it was beneficial for me because I got to be creative and work on materials for those like meetings or lessons, and I could communicate with other people. I had to step outside of my comfort zone and interact with other people in English constantly. Also, if you work on new vocabulary every single time and you need to explain those words and expressions to other people, you probably will remember them much better. For example, I can recite the script of the Princess Rap Battle, Cinderella versus Belle, and explain every single word in detail in my sleep because I created materials for my conversation meeting. And then I created a presentation for another lesson. After that, I learned Bell's lines by rote and practiced them and recorded them as an assignment with my friend Cinderella. And after that, I recorded and edited a YouTube video on this topic, on the same topic. So you really learn vocabulary like forever in this way. Overall, I hosted more than 50 conversation meetings and vocabulary lessons in around 6 months or so. They were 3 times a week, 1.5, 2 hours, sometimes even longer. The most wonderful things I got from those conversation meetings, apart from my improved speaking skills, were the realization that I actually enjoy communicating with people in English very, very much, and that I have the capability to become a quite decent English teacher in the future. The only downside for those lessons was that sometimes I got headaches from them because I had to stare a lot in my camera in Zoom. But otherwise, it was a lot of work, but so much fun. In July 2020, I joined another program of Hadar, the amazing accent coach I was talking about earlier, called Beyond. And it was a program that wasn't about learning something new, but was more about implementing your knowledge into practice. Well, I joined the program, and there were some challenges and conversation meetings that I joined from time to time. We recorded a lot of videos talking about different issues. It was a lot of fun. It was a positive experience for me and a great learning opportunity. I left Beyond in January 2021 to express my creativity in my own way. I created this YouTube channel in February 2021, and besides learning technical stuff like editing, I'm also learning to express myself clearly and confidently in English. Now I record videos every single week and I'm getting better. Like one step at a time. It's not easy, it's been a learning curve, but I'm improving. I'm not perfect, but I'm not striving for perfection. Improving your speaking skills is a never-ending journey. But if you do that in a good company and using materials you love, why not just enjoy the ride? That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video and consider subscribing for more awesome language content.